announcements, none. Papers have been laid. Questions?
Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following private notice question addressed to Dr. the Honourable Prime Minister, Minister of Defence, Home Affairs and External Communications, Minister of Finance, Minister for Rodrigues and Outer Islands. Whether in regard to the transfer of sovereignty over the Chagos archipelago to the Republic of Mauritius, he will state where matters stand, A, and table the latest official communications exchanged between the government of the Republic of Mauritius and the government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland in connection therewith, and B, give the names of the international and local legal advisors appointed by government, therefore, since December 2024 to date, indicating the costs incurred in terms of legal fees, air tickets, and per diem allowances in relation thereto, and including in relation to the Honourable the Attorney General. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I shall reply to this private notice question, together with parliamentary question B399 and B416, as they relate to the same subject matter. At the very outset, I would like to point out that under international law, Mauritius has undisputable sovereignty over the Chagos archipelago, including Chagos, as confirmed by the International Court of Justice in its advisory opinion of the 25th of February 2019, the UN General Assembly in its resolution 73-295, later in the same year, that is 2019, and the Special Chamber of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea in its judgment on the 28th of January 2021. I should add, Madam Speaker, that this fight was started in 2010 when I was Prime Minister, and at the time when the UK purportedly established a marine protected area around the Chagos archipelago. I instructed our lawyers to initiate actions at the level of an UNCLOS Annex 7 arbitral tribunal. Mauritius was successful in as far as the MPA was concerned, and the tribunal declared unanimously, and I quote, in establishing the MPA surrounding the Chagos archipelago, the United Kingdom breached its obligations under Article 23, under Articles 2.3, 56.2, and 1944 of the Convention, unquote. Therefore, Madam Speaker, in addition, the tribunal found, 1, that the United Kingdom's undertaking to ensure that fishing rights in the Chagos archipelago would remain available to Mauritius as far as practicable is legally binding insofar as it relates to the territorial sea. 2, that the United Kingdom's undertaking to return the Chagos archipelago to Mauritius when no longer needed for defense purposes is legally binding. 3, that the United Kingdom's undertaking to preserve the benefit of any minerals or oil discovered in or near the Chagos archipelago for Mauritius is legally binding. In addition, 2 of the arbitrators gave a dissenting and concurring opinion in which they confirmed that the Chagos archipelago forms part of the territory of Mauritius since it was unlawfully detached from the territory of Mauritius. This laid the foundation for the ICJ advisory opinion of the 25th of February 2019. I also wish to recall that Mauritius has never recognized the so-called British Indian Ocean Territory, which the United Kingdom purported to create by unlawfully excising the Chagos archipelago from the territory of Mauritius prior to our independence. Madam Speaker, in reply to Part A of the private notice question, As the House is aware, on the 22nd of May 2025, Mauritius and the United Kingdom signed an agreement concerning the Chagos archipelago, including Diego Garcia. Under this agreement, the United Kingdom recognizes the sovereignty of Mauritius over the Chagos archipelago in its entirety, including, that is, Diego Garcia. It is therefore misleading to refer to the transfer of sovereignty over the Chagos archipelago, as implied in the question. Mauritius is sovereign. Madam Speaker, the agreement on the Chagos archipelago has to be ratified by the United Kingdom so that it can enter into force. In order to be able to ratify the agreement, the British government introduced on the 15th of July 2026 in the House of Commons a bill titled Diego Garcia Military Base and the British Indian Ocean Territory Bill. 2025, sorry. Following its adoption by the House on the 20th of October 2025, the bill was considered by the House of Lords. Since the bill was adopted by the House of Lords on the 12th of January 2026 with amendments, it had to go back to the House of Commons. On the 20th of January 2026, the House of Commons considered the amendments of the House of Lords and rejected all of them except for one. Accordingly, the bill went back to the House of Lords but has not yet been moved. The United Kingdom's stand is clear, and it has indicated that it would have to update the UK-US exchange of notes in respect of the military base in Diego Garcia before it can proceed with the bill at the House of Lords. In a statement to the House of Commons on the 13th of April 2026, Honourable Stephen Doughty, Minister of State at the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, indicated that because of the change in position of the US President in recent weeks on the agreement between Mauritius and the United Kingdom concerning the Chagos archipelago, it has not been possible so far for the United Kingdom and the United States to agree at the political level on an updated exchange of notes in respect to the military base in Diego Garcia, although a final text has been agreed at the level of officials. Madam Speaker, in view of the delay in reaching such an agreement on the updated exchange of notes, the Minister of State stated that the Diego Garcia military base and the British Indian Ocean Territory Bill will not be able to complete its passage during the current session of the UK Parliament. He also stated that the bill cannot be carried over in view of the progress it has already made in the UK Parliament. The Minister of State added that the British government nevertheless remains confident that the agreement between Mauritius and the United Kingdom on the Chagos archipelago is the best means of protecting the full operation of the military base in Diego Garcia. He further mentioned that the United Kingdom would continue to work with the United States on the agreement and on the way forward, and would also continue to engage with Mauritius. In this regard, officials from the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office are visiting Mauritius this week. It is at their request, and will hold talks with Mauritian officials tomorrow. In the light of the outcome of those talks, consideration will be given to actions which may eventually need to be taken by Mauritius with regard to the agreement on the Chagos archipelago. Madam Speaker, on the 31st of March 2026, the Court of the so-called British Indian Ocean Territory, at first instance, delivered a judgment following an application made by some Chagosians as British citizens for judicial review of the failure of the Commissioner of the so-called British Indian Ocean Territory to make a decision on the application of the Chagosians for permits to enter into the Chagos archipelago, and of his decision to issue removal notices to them following their arrival at Île du Coin in Paros-Banos on the 16th of February 2026. The judgment relates to the application of the laws relating to the so-called British Indian Ocean Territory, and therefore bears no relevance to the agreement between the government of Mauritius and the government of the United Kingdom concerning the Chagos archipelago, including Diego Garcia, which is governed by international law. This agreement is in line with the international law and has been entered into following the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice on the 25th of February 2019 and the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 73/295 on 22nd of May 2019 and the judgment of the Special Chamber of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea on the 28th of January 2021, all of which confirmed the sovereignty of Mauritius over the Chagos archipelago. Accordingly, the judgment of the Court of the so-called British Indian Ocean Territory does not constitute an impediment to the ratification of the agreement concluding by the two states, which aims inter alia at providing for the manner in which the sovereignty will be exercised. Madam Speaker, in regard to Part A of the private notice question, I'm tabling the official communication exchange between the governments of Mauritius and the United Kingdom with regard to the agreement on the Chagos archipelago. Madam Speaker, in reply to Part A of the private notice question, Part B, of the private notice question, since November 2024, Withers LLP, a law firm of London, has been appointed by the current government, and that law firm has designated the following lawyers from its organization to deal with us: Mr. Aire Hussein, KC, Ms. Florian Lavo, Ms. Camilla Gambarini, Ms. Giovanna Gravesevic, Ms. Mayana Tandon, and Ms. Sudipa Spurkasa-Yasha. Legal fees paid to them to date amount to £408,028.40. As regards to the local legal advisors, the Attorney General's office, including the Honorable Attorney General himself, the Solicitor General, Mr. Deby, former Solicitor General, Mr. Yvan Jean-Louis, and Mrs. Soraya Garibou, Assistant Solicitors General, have been acting as such and have not been paid any additional fees. Madam Speaker, an amount of 631,285 rupees has been disbursed for air tickets for our external legal advisors. No per diem has been paid to them. The sums dispersed in respect to the local team from the Attorney General's office for 2 trips in January 2025 and 1 trip in November 2025 are as follows: air tickets, 1,334,461 rupees, per diem as approved rates. Madam Speaker, let me be clear. We shall leave no stone unturned until the issue of the Chagos archipelago is resolved diplomatically or otherwise. The decolonization process of Mauritius must be completed, and this government will see to it that this becomes a reality sooner rather than later. However, at this stage, we are still engaged with the UK government, which has repeatedly stated that it has not abandoned the ratification process. Therefore, let us see how things progress, but there will come a time when Mauritius will have to look at alternative avenues to assert its sovereignty.
Thank you. Yes, your first supplementary.
Yes, Madam Speaker, thank you. Madam Speaker, I made reference to transfer of sovereignty because the whole process is not yet over. I had to rectify that, Madam Speaker. Now, can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House? He said there were regular exchange of communication between himself and the British Prime Minister. Can he inform the House what assurances, if any, was obtained regarding the timeline for the transfer of sovereignty to Mauritius?
I already explained, Madam Speaker, that there is no timeline because of the disagreement that there is between the President of the United States and the UK government on the manner in which sovereignty should be given. They are speaking on their terms, not us.
Second supplementary.
Yes, thank you. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House whether the government has received any formal notice from the UK government regarding the suspending of or withdrawing from the treaty, and if yes, will the Honourable Prime Minister give details of this communication? Because we know decisions have already been taken in the UK.
There is no question and no communication on withdrawing. There is none. But there are exchanges.
Yes, third question.
May we know what is the reason for those exchanges? About what? What is it about?
This is precisely why they're coming, I think, today, and they're meeting us tomorrow. We're continuing this.
Fourth question.
Now, can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House whether he has spoken to President Trump?
Yes, Prime Minister, very interesting.
Well, I barely think he will have time to do all this. He's very concerned with the war in the Middle East. But I have written to him, yes.
Okay. Yes.
You have not talked to him.
Fifth question, yes.
Will the Honourable Prime Minister agree that we have wasted a lot of time because of an ego issue with regard
This
to
is
agreement?
you're imputing motives.
If he does not agree,
No, but you're imputing motives which is not acceptable.
The
Prime
deal
Minister.
that was agreed on the eve of the election, unprecedented, was not a good deal. We improved on that deal. And that is why we can't just come in the new government and agree to what the previous government had agreed.
Fifth question, I think.
all of us recall what the Honourable Prime Minister said in this House when I put a PNQ to him. And I quote, "Let us not cross the bridge before we reach the bridge. Let us reach the bridge and then we will cross it." Honourable Prime Minister, the time has come to cross the bridge now.
No,
Therefore, can you inform the House what concrete steps government intend to take to assert Mauritius' legal sovereignty over the entire Chagos archipelago, including Diego Garcia?
Including Diego Garcia.
Yes, we have asked for, as I explained, Madam Speaker, we have asked for legal opinion, which we have received, and we are not going to jeopardize the situation. That is why we are speaking to them.
Okay.
Has
Sixth
got out of
question.
control, Madam Speaker.
Sixth question. No
Can the Honourable
comments.
Prime Minister inform the House why the sum of 10 billion rupees was included in the budget 2025-2026 as revenue contingent on the Chagos Agreement, despite the absence of a ratified treaty or a defined timeline, Madam Speaker?
As he said, the treaty has been signed. Ratification is something else, but the treaty has been signed.
I think your seventh
You don't have the money.
supplementary. Don't comment, please.
Yeah, I
Especially
need
not to me.
comment, Madam Speaker.
No, you have to
Okay.
put questions.
The government has made a 3-year budget plan. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House how government intends to address this shortfall of 30 billion rupees over 3 years if the treaty is not implemented? You will agree, Madam Speaker,
Don't
this trou is bigger than the Trubinic, Madam Speaker. Much bigger.
As I said, Madam Speaker, a treaty has been signed. This is why, but then you have this disagreement between President Trump and the British Prime Minister and the officials, and this is why there is a delay.
Okay. There's a demand for a question from your friend. No?
Yes, one more question, Madam Speaker.
And then we have Mr. Ramdas and also, Mr. Duval, because their questions have also been taken care of. Okay?
In the meantime, Madam Speaker, Mr. Mandarin, the self-proclaimed First Minister, has already settled on l'île du Point. May we know whether government is planning a settlement of Chagosians on the islands of Chagos, including Diego Garcia, and what, if you can inform the House, what logistical and financial provisions have been made, Madam Speaker?
This is a premature question, Madam Speaker. Mr. Mandarin, let me remind
Don't comment
let me remind the
while
leader
we're
of the
speaking.
opposition, Mr. Mandarin acted from Britain as a British citizen who is there. He went to Chagos. The British are dealing with this, and there's a court case, there's an appeal on that case. Yes. I have said, Madam Speaker, the leader of God, thank God you're not the Prime Minister. because we would have jeopardized everything. We need to get our Chagos archipelago back. And this is what we're doing. Not the way you're doing. The way you're doing, you would have jeopardized everything.
Do you have another question?
Yeah, come later.
Okay, so Mr. Duval. Honorable Duval, I'm sorry.
I ask the Prime Minister, in light of the fact that he had a conversation with the Secretary of State on the 23rd December 2024, telling the Prime Minister to sign the deal because Trump would rip it up, and in light of his answer to the parliamentary private notice question, which was put in this House on 23rd December, on the 4th of February 2025, where he said, why are we afraid of the President Trump? As if he will tear the agreement. It would in fact be better for him to have a look. If it's a good agreement, then why would he not agree?
So what's the question?
The question is now, does the Prime Minister still hold the view that this was the proper way of going about in light of the information he had received?
Absolutely. You are right. I think the former Deputy Prime Minister was right. Why do we have to hide behind what the US will say? They will see the treaty anyway. But we proceeded on the basis that what had been agreed by the former government was not what we would have agreed. We have changed a few things, not a few things, quite a few things, and we are now hoping that this will be ratified at some point.
Yes, Mr. Ramdas doesn't want? Okay, because your question 399 was also in that reply. Okay, fine. Yes. Next one.
The Honourable Prime Minister. With regards to the former terms of the agreement, of the former deal, and the present one, the Prime Minister of the UK, Mr. Keir Starmer, says that they are both virtually the same, and has said that...
Please put a question.
That is the question. Does she agree with the statement of the Honourable Prime Minister, of the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, that here it is being sold as better off for political reasons, but that it is not in fact better off, but they are the same deals?
Yes, Prime Minister.
Then I ask the honourable member, if it was the same deal, why didn't we sign it then? Because it was a wrong deal. We had improved the deal, Madam Speaker. We would not prepare, as a new government, to come in and just sign the deal which was made, which was not the right deal for us.
Yes, I think, yes, you still have questions, yes?
Écoutez le Premier
Put questions,
ministre.
put
S'il avait suivi les pas de ses prédécesseurs,
Ne faites pas
ça,
avec
niveau de Jagnat, on aurait déjà signé ce traité, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House whether government has already considered seeking compensation or back payments from the UK government for the economic losses arising from the prolonged non-implementation of the sovereign transfer?
Prime
Madam
Minister.
Speaker, how can this arise at this point? It doesn't arise. No, it doesn't.
Last one, Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House as to why the Chagos archipelago has not yet been included in the Outer Islands Ministry, despite being constitutionally part of the Republic of Mauritius?
You know, Madam Speaker, perhaps the Honourable Leader of the Opposition doesn't realize we do not have control of the Chagos archipelago at this point. We have signed a treaty, but we don't have control.
Okay, then if I understand, we have finished, we've finished with the PNQ. Now we go to PMQT. My good friend, yes, is it, yes? Give me 1 minute. Mr. Bichuk is not here, so B398 has been withdrawn. 399 was just replied by the Prime Minister. So now you're right, Honourable Jamal, it's your turn.
Merci, Madame. Question B400, s'il vous plaît.
Madam Speaker, SBM Holdings Limited is the holding and ultimate parent company of the SBM Group, which includes SBM Bank Mauritius Limited. It is a public company limited by shares and is listed on the Stock Exchange of Mauritius. With regard to Part A of the question, as at 31st of March 2026, the government of Mauritius holds a direct shareholding of 4.92% of the in the SBM Holdings Limited for a market value of 987 million rupees. Concerning Part B of the question, I assume that the honourable member is referring to the loans made by the SBM Bank Limited. In this respect, I'm informed that for the period 2014 to 2024, the cumulative write-offs amounted to approximately 14.34 billion rupees, compared to just 1.12 billion for the period 2004 to 2013. On average, for the period 2014 to 2024, the bank was writing off 1.3 billion rupees annually, compared to an annual average of 100 million from 2004 to 2013. This represents more than a tenfold increase, clearly reflecting a total disregard of basic banking principles and a complete breakdown in the effectiveness of asset monitoring, risk management, and internal controls over the period, that is 2014 to 2024. That was not just a systematic failure, but a deliberate action to dilapidate the bank's assets. One must ask oneself, why has the bank been subjected to such a terrible fate? 2 weeks ago in this house, I gave enough details about the plundering which took place at Silver Bank, and before that I had replied to PQ on the Development Bank of Mauritius, where hundreds of millions were given away to cronies of the previous regime without collaterals. That 14.34 billion rupees, which have been written off by the SBM, took place in the same vein as was seen in other banking institutions under the, I should call it, a kleptocratic former regime. During the 10-year period, they stopped at nothing to loot the assets of various banks, while their protégé at the central bank turned a blind eye on the regime's daylight robbery. That's what it was, Madam Speaker, daylight robbery. The consequences have been significant. The profitability of the bank was severely impacted, and its capital has been eroded. Madam Speaker, this adds to the long list of scandals under the former regime, involving huge loans made to large corporates without proper scrutiny and due diligence. Surprisingly, these loans were provided without adequate collaterals, and in some cases, without any collateral at all. The House will recall that the total loan of 1.4 billion rupees, which was granted to Darya Vatam Limited, the operator of mardi Villas, a resort and spa, at a time when the company was already facing financial difficulties. Yet, they got another loan of 1.4 billion rupees. This includes a facility of approximately 470 million extended to Drana Vatam Limited in 2024 on the eve of the general elections, in spite of the fact that the then credit committee did not approve the loan. In spite of that, they were given the loan. Allegedly, this was overridden by the then chief executive of the bank, Mr. Mangor, and this matter is being investigated by the FCC. Madam Speaker, when we look at the period 2014 to 2024, the impaired loans were highly concentrated. Three companies alone, which was sufficient to erode the capital of the bank to a point where a new capital injection had to be made. The total loans granted to the three foreign companies, namely NMC Healthcare, Pabari Group, and Renish Petroleum FZE, without adequate or no tangible collateral at all, amounted to 9 billion rupees out of the total of 14.34 billion, which represents approximately 2/3 of the total toxic loans for the period. These impaired loans plummeted the profits of the SBM Holdings. In 2019, the SBM Holdings recorded a lamentable profit of 15 million rupees only. in contrast to 2.7 billion rupees in 2013. Look at the damage that has been done. That was an all-time low in the recent history of the bank. This is what the MSM regime did to the SBM, supported by their accomplices in the Bank of Mauritius. In all these bank scandals, which we have brought to light in this House, one must ask, where was the supervisory responsibility of the Bank of Mauritius? Fortunately, as from January 2025, the situation at the SBM Bank has been improving, and the bank has proved to be quite resilient in spite of the past scandalous actions. Madam Speaker, what has happened at the SBM cannot and will not go unpunished. With regard to all the provisions and write-offs, internal investigations are already underway. A special dedicated team has been set up on the 23rd of March of this year for this purpose, and specialized investigators are being recruited. We need specialized investigators. It is acknowledged that on the recovery side, the task will be challenging in the absence of tangible collateral. This just gave loans without collaterals. The appointment of external consultants to assist with the recovery and investigative efforts was approved by the board in December 2025. The focus is not only on the external parties, but also identifying with the bank who have contributed to or enable such transactions. Even individuals who may no longer be employed by or associated with the bank will not be spared. Madam Speaker, as regards to part B1, I'm informed that the bank has taken several actions to recoup amounts due, including the realization of collateral and securities where there are collaterals, the initiation of legal proceedings against defaulting borrowers, both locally and internationally, and the implementation of recovery and restructuring mechanisms where it would be appropriate. As of now, an amount of 2.6 billion rupees has been recovered by the bank. I'm informed that all avenues are being pursued to recover the dues. As regards to part B2, I'm informed that from 2014 to 2019, it was a board credit committee that made the credit decisions. The various chairpersons of this committee were as follows. From January 2014 to December 2014, Mr. Muni Krishna Reddy. From January 2015 to December 2017, Mr. Nayan Kumar Bala. From January 2017 to March 2019, Mr. Mahadali Bakutala. And from March 2019 to December 2019, Mr. Radhakrishna Chalapiaval. With effect from 2020, the responsibility for credit decisions was then entrusted to the Management Credit Forum. The chairpersons of this forum for the period 2020 to 2024 were as follows. January 2020 to June 2021, Mr. George Stock. From July 2021 to January 2023, Mr. Anup Lilambar. From February 2023 to October 2023, Mr. Sanjay Rawatia. From November 2023 to December 2024, Mr. Premchand Mangal. The House may wish to note that both the Board Credit Committee and the Management Credit Forum were managed by the head of credit of the bank. The head of credit is responsible for assessing and making recommendations in respect to loan applications. Over the period 2014 to 2024, this position was occupied by the following persons. January 2014 to July 2016, Ms. Pauline Siav. September 2016 to August 2021, Mrs. Veronique Lim Hoi Yi. September 2021 to December 2022, Mr. Dorman Herku. January 2023 to December 2023, Mr. Rajnish Lakshma. January 2024 to December 2024, Mrs. Veronique Lim Hoi Yi. Madam Speaker, in regards to part B3, I'm informed that the Board of Directors has the responsibility to safeguard the bank's assets and protect its client deposits. This involves ensuring sound banking operations, effective leadership, as well as exercising overall control of its affairs. It also entails proper risk management and financial oversight through the establishment of a robust internal control system. The board is thus responsible for minimizing credit losses and write-offs, as well as the initiation of appropriate recovery measures in respect of impaired loans. It goes without saying, Madam Speaker, that the board of directors failed miserably in their fiduciary duties. Madam Speaker, when one connects the dots, it is evident that these toxic exposures are not isolated incidents, but the result of a pattern of poor lending decisions, absence of controls, and inadequate oversight for a number of years under the former government. I would add even it was done deliberately. Let me be very clear, Madam Speaker, this government will not tolerate any form of mismanagement that undermines public confidence or jeopardizes the integrity of our financial system. As I've said on numerous occasions, these crimes will not go unpunished.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. The Honourable Second Member for Grand-Bay Poudre d'Or.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B41.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that in 2022, the Police Family Protection Unit and the Brigade pour la Protection des Mineurs were merged and restructured as the Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part A1 of the question, according to the Commissioner of Police, since the 1st of January 2026 to the 17th of April 2026, 198 cases have been handled by the Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille of the Northern Division, and as follows: 132 cases of domestic violence, of which 50 were on physical abuses, 48 on verbal abuse, 22 on threats of violence, 6 on psychological abuses, 5 on financial constraints, and 1 on property damage. 49 cases of child abuse, of which 40 were related to sexual offences, 3 on offences of ill treatment, 2 on offences of assaults, 2 on cohabitation of an adult with a child, 1 on abduction of a child, and 1 on bullying. 17 cases of elderly abuse, of which 12 were on psychological abuses and 5 on physical abuses. Out of the 198 cases reported, 27 accused in 27 cases have been either fined or imprisoned. 12 cases have been resolved through first-hand counseling by the Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille of the Northern Division. 5 cases have been filed with no further action for the following reasons. In one case, the police has issued a warning to the accused. In 3 cases, which were related, were only precautionary measures, and there has been no follow-up by the alleged victims. In one case, the victim withdrew her complaint. 4 cases are pending trial in court. For the remaining 150 cases, the inquiries are expected to be completed between 4 to 5 months, and the case files will be then submitted to the Office of the Director of Prosecution for advice. In general, police intervene in a prompt manner within an average of 15 minutes of the reporting of any incident. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, in regards to Part A2 of the question, I am informed that 14 police officers are currently posted to the Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille of the Northern Division. And they are as follows: 1 police inspector, 1 police sergeant, 3 women police sergeants, 2 police constables, and 7 women police constables. From 2023 to 16th of April 2026, 13 police officers were transferred from the Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille and were replaced by 12 police officers. The transfer of police officers is a common practice within the force, not only to enhance skills and meet administrative needs, but also based on the exigencies of the service. As regard to Part B of the question, the Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille of the Northern Division has a main office at Piton Divisional Headquarters and another office at the Triole Police Station. The Brigade also provides support to the Goodlands Family Support Services of the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family Welfare. The Brigade pour la Protection de la Famille of the Northern Division has jurisdiction over 14 police stations from Tombobé to Grand Bay from Rivière-du-Rempart to Pamplemousse. All cases of domestic violence, child abuse, and elderly abuse reported and investigated by 14 police stations, all referred to the district courts of either Pamplemousse or Rivière-du-Rempart.
Yes, Mr. Bijan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House that in view of statistics of previous years, which clearly show that cases of domestic violence, child abuse and ill treatment of elderly persons have increased, will he direct the Commissioner of Police to reorganize this unit by separating protection de famille and that of protection of minors? Thank you.
In fact, the police are doing that. They have applied, but a lot of these appointments depend on the PSC, on the DVSC.
The second one, yes?
Thank you. May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister to indicate whether due consideration will be given for additional police officers having a broad knowledge in this specialized unit?
This is what I indicated. The Commissioner of Police is doing just that.
Okay. Was that all right? Yes, okay. So next question then, Mr. Honourable Third Member for Port-Louis North and Montailon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. PQB 402, please.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that the Finance and Revenue Section of the Mauritius Police Force is responsible for budget allocation, expenditure and revenue collection in compliance with the Finance and Audit Act of 2015. According to the organization chart, the section should comprise 62 officers from the Finance Guard. Presently, the section is staffed with 48 officers of the Finance Cadre in the following grades: Manager Financial Operations 2, Assistant Manager Financial Operations 5, Principal Financial Operations Officer 9, Financial Operations Officer or Senior Financial Operations 8, Assistant Financial Operations Officer 24. There are 14 vacancies for the post of Assistant Financial Operations Officer. 13 police officers, including 2 police sergeants, are posted to the finance section to assist in its daily operations. Madam Speaker, on the 9th of May 2025, the Ministry of Finance had reported a total of 94 vacancies in the grade of Assistant Financial Operations Officer to the Public Service Commission. The vacancies were advertised on the 20th of August 2025. The candidates will be required to sit for a written comprehensive exam conducted by the Commission. That written examination is still being awaited. The Mauritius Police Force has on several occasions informed the Minister of Finance of the acute shortage of the financial cadre. The latest correspondence sent to the Ministry dates the 10th of April of this year. Madam Speaker, I have requested that the Public Service Commission be asked to expedite the filling vacancies that have remained unfilled.
One moment. Mr. Kazem, you all right? Yes, okay.
Yeah, just allow me to put a supplementary, Madam Speaker. May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether he's aware that the shortage of human resources, as he mentioned, at this department is causing a lot of retard of payment of passage benefits dues to many police officers who applied for same for medical, traveling and study purposes many months ago, or I should say since September last year. Can needful be done to expedite matters with that?
That is why, Madam Speaker, that is why we have requested through my office to the Public Service Commission to expedite the filling of vacancies that have remained unfilled.
Yes, next question. First member for Port-Louis North.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Question B403.
Madam Speaker, transparency in recruitment in the public service is crucial to ensure fairness, meritocracy, and public confidence in government institutions. Several measures have been implemented to enhance transparency. The Public Service Commission and the Local Government Service Commission are bodies responsible for the recruitment, appointment, and promotion in the public service. Their independence helps prevent political interference and ensure that decisions are taken impartially. Each post, Madam Speaker, in the public service is governed by a scheme of service, which clearly outlines the qualifications, the experience, and skills required. Candidates are assessed through structured interviews and in some cases, written examinations. This ensures that the selection is based on the above criteria and principles of meritocracy. The e-recruitment systems of the Public Service Commission and the Discipline Forces Service Commission allow vacancies to be advertised online, and candidates can submit their applications electronically. This ensures equal opportunity and allows better tracking of applications, thus reducing the risk of manipulation. In addition, the standardized recruitment procedures applied across ministries and departments include clear guidelines for shortlisting, interviewing, and the final selection, which promote consistency and fairness. As laid down in the government program of 2025-2029, my government is committed to undertake major reforms to ensure that recruitment and promotion in the public sector are conducted in an enhanced and transparent and fair manner. To that effect, the Public Service Commission is developing a modernized e-recruitment system, not only to receive online applications, but also to carry out the automatic screening of applications to determine the eligibility of candidates. The Local Government Service Commission is working on an e-recruitment system which will be introduced, I believe, early next year. My government will also introduce clear and standardized selection criteria and strengthen oversight mechanisms to ensure full accountability throughout the recruitment process. Furthermore, in view of the undue delays in the filling of vacancies, again, the Public Service Commission will re-engineer its administrative processes to expedite the recruitment process. With regard to Part B of the question, government remains resolute in ensuring that meritocracy prevails and that no form of discrimination arises in employment. In this respect, preliminary consultations aim at identifying the necessary amendments to be brought to the Equal Opportunities Act. My office has approached the Law Reform Commission to undertake a comprehensive review of the legal framework with a view to strengthening the powers of the Equal Opportunities Commission. The Law Reform Commission has accordingly submitted a discussion paper entitled Strengthening the Powers of the Equal Opportunities Commission, which provides an in-depth review of the Equal Opportunities Act and its interaction with the workers' rights of 2019, and proposes a series of reforms aimed at reinforcing the legal and institutional framework governing equality in Mauritius. The proposals put forward include, inter alia, the extension of the definition of status under the Act, 2, an improved coordination between the Equal Opportunities Commission and relevant institutions. The discussion paper also contains an Equal Opportunities Amendment Bill in draft form, provided for enhanced enforcement powers, including sanctions in cases of non-compliance. Consultations have accordingly been initiated with key stakeholders, and the views received are currently being consolidated with a view to finalizing the appropriate legislative and policy measures. Madam Speaker, the Public Bodies Appeal Tribunal also acts as an oversight mechanism on decisions taken by the Public Service Commission and the Local Government Service Commission. Its main object is to hear and determine appeals made by any public officer or any local government officer against any decision of the Public Service Commission or the Local Government Service Commission, as the case may be, pertaining to an appointment exercise or to a disciplinary action taken against that officer. Madam Speaker, may I remind the House that I introduced the Equal Opportunities Act and the Public Bodies Tribunal Appeal Act. This was done with the precise objectives to ensure that public officers have a mechanism to have redress if they think they have been aggrieved. In the past, this would take years. Now, with the tribunal, it does not. My government has had the political will to take bold measures to create more opportunities for all components of our society. In the same vein, I'm reiterating my engagement and that of the government to ensure that recruitment in the public service is transparent, fair, and based on merit.
Yes, first supplementary.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Puis-je demander à l'honorable Premier ministre s'il peut examiner les recrutements récents, par exemple dans les autorités locales, où clairement ces principes de méritocratie et de non-discrimination n'ont pas été suivis seulement, par exemple, 3 sur 123 dans un cas, peut-il nommer une enquête dessus? Merci.
This is being done. Actually, I can say to the House that the chairperson has resigned, has submitted his resignation following that inquiry.
Okay, second.
Merci, Madame. L'honorable Premier ministre peut-il considérer l'élargissement du champ d'intervention de l'Equal Opportunities Commission afin qu'elle soit plus efficace et non pas comme c'est le cas actuellement. Cela prend 6 mois, par exemple, pour que la Commission convoque pour la première fois la plaignante. Justice delayed is justice denied.
I
Merci.
think it has been replied. Anyway.
The answer, the short answer is there is a huge backlog. The previous regime, and you know who was there, just did nothing.
One? Yes. One for honourable member.
Thank you.
Yes.
May I ask the Prime Minister with regards to the Equal Opportunities
Commission.
pending that the Public Service Commission's propositions for reform and the Law Reform Commission, is the Prime Minister agreeable to at least open up the application of the Equal Opportunities Commission to cases of discrimination at work in the public service, so that they may inquire and take sanctions in the case of public servants where they are victim of discrimination or other offences under the Act, the Equal Opportunity Act.
The Public Appeal Tribunal was made for that, but we will have to change the law, to amend the law to consider that.
There's a little confusion. Anyway, next question. Let me see. Mr. Honourable Second Member for Rodrigues, I think.
Yes, thank you. B/404.
Madam Speaker, in regard to Part A of the question, I wish to refer the Honourable Member to my reply to his parliamentary question of B1194 on the same subject. I had informed the House that on receipt of the proposed amendments from the Rodrigues Regional Assembly, consultations with relevant stakeholders would be undertaken with a view to ensuring a comprehensive review of the Rodrigues Regional Assembly Act. On the 27th of February of this year, the Island Chief Executive of the Rodrigues Regional Assembly has, following approval of the Executive Council, submitted proposals comprising 15 amendments to key provisions of the Rodrigues Regional Assembly. The proposed amendments relate, among others, to the definition and delimitation of Rodrigues, the qualification of members of the Regional Assembly, the composition and functioning of the Executive Council, the autonomy of the commissions and departments within the Rodrigues Regional Assembly, mechanisms for dispute resolution, creation of localities, and recognition of villages, and amendments to the Constitution. These proposed amendments will have far-reaching implications on institutional arrangements, on the electoral framework, and the consequential amendment to the Constitution. Consultations are underway with the Attorney General's offices, the Electoral Commissioner's Office, the Ministry of Local Government, and the Department for Continental Shelf, Maritime Zones, Administrations, and Exploration. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, the Electoral Commissioner has been consulted. He has emphasized that the best practice is to legislate and prepare reforms well in advance of the next electoral contest, and to ensure that such reforms are developed through broad and inclusive consultation involving both political and non-political stakeholders. The proposed amendments to the Rodrigues Regional Assembly Act form part of a broader institutional and constitutional framework. Accordingly, all the proposals for amendments to the Rodrigues Regional Assembly Act must be considered as a whole and in an integrated manner. In this context, I'm proposing to set up a high-level committee to examine the proposed amendments to the Rodrigues Regional Assembly Act, undertake consultations, and make appropriate recommendations.
Fine, time is up anyway. The table has been advised. I mentioned B398, B411, maybe I didn't, B413, which had been withdrawn. Now I have B419, B417, B409, B415, B418, B411, B413, B414, B408, which have been withdrawn. So now we go to questions addressed to ministers. And I call, I hope I've got it all right, because it's written everywhere. Let me just check. I see PQ B443, 445, 461, 470 have been withdrawn. In case I've said it twice, please forgive me. Yes, Honourable First Member for Rodrigues, Ms. Colette.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B420, please.
420. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I'll be replying to PQ B420 and PQ B466 together as they pertain to the same subject. Madam Speaker, the blueprint for Mauritius 2025-2029 is the strategic documents that recommends under the first pillar the foundation of the state-of-the-art infrastructure, the implementation of an app that is built around live events to deliver simple and reliable government to citizen, government to business, and government to government services. This document, Madam Speaker, is a reflection of the vision of the ministry. And unlike the previous regime, those documents, they don't just find their way in drawers. They do get implemented. And the app Korek is one such implementation. And in this context, the Korek app has been established with the aim of consolidating fragmented government applications that consumed in the past a lot of public funds with no value to the public. But now there is value that the public is deriving. That has been consolidated into a single window for all the users of our republic. It will eventually evolve into a fully fledged super app, which will be based around the whole of government concept. So every transaction that a person needs to do with the government, from birth till the last day, whether it is about education, health, local authorities, permits, all those will ultimately be available in Super App, and we have started that work already. And these are bringing cost savings, citizen trust, and convenience to citizens as well. Therefore, Korek represents a paradigm shift towards a proactive government, Madam Speaker, that anticipates citizens' needs rather than reacting to their requests. And this approach strengthens social inclusion in public institutions and demonstrates government's commitment to leaving no one behind in our digital journey. The first version, Madam Speaker, was made available on 30th of January 2026 with the details of driving license and the digital penalty point system, which we worked on together with Honorable Mohamed. And that gives citizens the possibility of them online, in real time, consulting the number of penalty points in case there is any that they have acquired through road traffic offenses. And at my ministry, we have set a target of making available at least one new service on Korek every month. And the last two services added on 3rd of April 2026 are firstly, information that comes straight from the power grid of the Central Electricity Board, and it provides the color coding, red, yellow, or green, so people will understand in real time any actions they need to take at home in order to optimize the use of power in currently difficult times. We've also added government information service, vacancies, which are now centralized on the mobile app, so that people seeking jobs find it easier to come onto their mobile phones and to find all jobs advertised in the public and parastatal sectors. And with the help of my colleague Reza Utim, we will soon also make it possible for them to apply online through their mobile phone. The next addition will be the reporting of serious water leakages. We all know that we have a serious problem with that, and potholes on roads that could be safety hazards and lead to accidents. Therefore, Madam Speaker, there are a series of services that have been added and more will be added. And this is phase one. And my ministry is taking several measures to promote the uptake and accessibility of the application among residents and institutions. And these include targeted awareness campaigns and collaboration with the Mauritius Digital Promotion Agency, together with the SILWF centers under Honorable Navarre, the colleges as well, working with the inhabitants of the surroundings, with the local authorities and various stakeholders, so that we are able to touch a maximum number of people. There are so far 406,000 Mauritians using this app, Madam Speaker, and we are actively pursuing further onboarding. Furthermore, with respect to the deployment and adoption in Rodrigues Island, I wish to inform the House that a visit is planned in the coming days. And to this end, my ministry is liaising with relevant authorities in Rodrigues to plan engagement sessions to empower local ambassadors. We so far have 3,058 users of this app in Rodrigues, and we intend to replicate the same approach that we have taken in Mauritius for Rodrigues Island as well. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Lakiran. No? Ms. Colette? Okay, great. Let's do one more. Honourable second member for my board. Oh, I'm sorry. You must, I don't see. You must ask verbally. Yes,
Thank
please.
you, Madam Speaker. May I ask the Honourable Minister if he's aware that there are incorrect entries sometimes, and how he intends to address these?
Incorrect entries with respect to which service, Honourable, please?
The application concerning the residents, the data are sometimes incorrect. They does not give full information about what is on the application.
Thank you for this supplementary question. There are different types of services which pertain to different ministries. For example, the Ministry of Transport, the Civil Status Division, and others. Therefore, in case of any discrepancy being identified, my request would be for the person to actually notify the relevant ministry, and I'm sure there is a process for them to address that. We only use data that is available in those ministries. Thank you.
Okay. You're happy, Mr. Edouard? Okay. May I propose that we do another question? Let me see. So now we're going to second member for my board. That's what I said. Yes?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
B421.
Madam Speaker, following the last general elections, the portfolio of maintenance of road traffic signs and road markings has been entrusted to my ministry. As per Section 28 of the Roads Act, the maintenance of existing traffic signs and road markings falls under the purview of the Highway Authority, that is the Road Development Authority for classified roads, and that of local authorities for urban and rural roads, roads C, for example. Concurrently, maintenance of road signs is currently undertaken by the RDA, the local authorities, and the TRMSU of my ministry. Accordingly, I have been informed that the RDA had carried out inspections on roads falling under its purview in the district of Grand Port, covering also constituency number 12. And it has observed that out of some 233 traffic signs, 78 were found to be defective, either damaged or faded. In August 2025, works order for the amount of 1.075 million rupees was granted by the RDA under the framework agreement for maintenance and minor works for the reinstatement of traffic signs. As at date, all the 78 defective traffic signs have been replaced. Madam Speaker, according to information obtained from the Ministry of Local Government, 250 defective or worn-out road signs have been surveyed by the District Council of Grand Port on non-classified roads within its administrative jurisdiction of constituency number 12. The estimated cost for the replacement of these road signs and poles amounts to 248,000 rupees. Works which will be undertaken by the in-house labor of the District Council of Grand Port are expected to be completed within 3 months, subject to fund being made available. Madam Speaker, I am further informed by the TRMSU that the latter has worked out a road safety inspection report whereby the following roads within constituency number 12 have been included for maintenance of traffic signs by the TRMSU. Number 1, A10, Phoenix to Plaisance Road, 24.4 kilometers. Number 2, B81, Junction Road, 3.3 kilometers. Number 3, B7, Deux Bras Road, 10.5 kilometers. And number 4, La Baraque Road, 13.2 kilometers. My ministry has already approached the Ministry of Finance for the required funding to be made available in the next financial year for implementation of these projects. Also, to avoid duplication of works, the local authorities, RDA and TRMSU hold joint site visits to agree on the appropriate course of action to be undertaken. I have to stress also, Madam Speaker, that the maintenance of road signs is an ongoing exercise to ensure road safety and proper traffic management. Signs are often damaged due to road accidents and in some cases acts of vandalism. I have also therefore requested the TRMSU to carry out regular inspection and initiate prompt repairs to keep signage visible, legible and effective at all times.
Merci, je remercie le ministre. Comme le ministre vient de dire, il y a une grosse confusion parmi les députés pour savoir quelle route doit être faite par le District Council, quelle route doit être faite par le TRMSU. Est-ce qu'à l'avenir, on peut discuter avec les autorités concernées pour faire une seule autorité qui s'occupe des signs sur la route? Parce que là, on parle des accidents qui arrivent souvent parce qu'on ne sait pas si c'est le District Council ou TRMSU qui doit s'occuper des road signs. Merci.
Yes, Minister.
Yes, you mentioned TRMSU and local authority, but there is also the RDA. I tend to agree with you, but ultimately I am responsible. My ministry is responsible. So for coordination, because like I said, after the elections of 2024, this portfolio has been entrusted to my ministry.
The question was, how are people going to deal with this, given that there are 3 different, how do they deal? Through you?
Ministry of Land Transport.
Through the ministry, you got it. Okay, maybe we can have one last question. Honourable Third Member for Rodrigues. Yes, Ms. Manon?
B422, please.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, at the very outset, I wish to refer to the Honourable Member to the reply parliamentary question B303, dated 8 April 2025, which clearly sets out the legal and constitutional framework governing transfers between the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service and the Rodrigues Fire and Rescue Service. With regard to the specific question, I am informed that since 2022 to date, no request for transfer has been recorded and consequently no transfer has been effected. For completeness, Madam Speaker, prior to 2022, a total of 13 requests were received in 2019 from firefighters of Rodrigues origin, along with 1 individual request in 2021, and the reconciliation request in April 2025. However, none of these requests were acceded to, and therefore no permanent transfer has taken place. Madam Speaker, this situation must be understood within the existing legal and constitutional framework. Under the Rodrigues Regional Assembly Act 2006, the Rodrigues Regional Assembly is established as a separate body corporate with responsibility for the fire services in Rodrigues. Consequently, distinct civil establishment orders exist for Mauritius and Rodrigues, creating 2 independent establishments, each with its own staffing structure, budgetary provision, and administrative authority. Furthermore, under the Discipline Force Service Commission regulation, which governs the condition of service of firefighters, there is no provision for permanent transfers between these 2 establishments. Any such transfer would therefore require a specific legal basis, which does not exist actually. Madam Speaker, in addition to this legal constraint, any transfer would raise practical considerations including the availability of vacancies in Rodrigues, alignment of rank and seniority, operational requirements of the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service, and the concurrence of the relevant institutional bodies. I am further informed that this matter has been subject to consultation with the Disciplined Forces Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, and the Office of the Attorney General and the Prime Minister's Office, and remain under consideration at policy level, as it would necessitate appropriate legislative and regulatory amendments. Madam Speaker, in the meantime, the government has adopted a legally compliant and practical approach to address staffing needs in Rodrigues. A recruitment exercise was conducted in October 2025, following which 11 firefighters were recruited specifically for the Rodrigues Fire and Rescue Service and have already assumed duty in March 2026. It is also noteworthy that one previous applicant for transfer has successfully joined through this recruitment process in line with the established legal framework. So, Madam Speaker, to conclude, the position is clear. Since 2022 to date, no request for transfer has been recorded. Prior to that period, a total of 13 requests were made. However, none of these requests were acceded to, and consequently, no transfer has been taken place. This is due to the absence of legal provision allowing for permanent transfers between the two distinct establishments under the correct legislative and regulatory framework.
Thank you. Ms. Manon, fine. Now okay. I'm going to give her first. Yes.
Okay, no, that's fine.
C'est moi qui décide.
No, I didn't realize. That's fine, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Minister confirm to this House whether his ministry envisages the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding regarding those matters concerning the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Services running in Mauritius and running in Rodrigues, please?
Yes, Minister.
Yes. Madam Speaker, I just answer. So all depend on the extensive consultation between involving the Disciplined Forces Service Commission, Public Service Commission, Office of the Attorney General, and the Prime Minister's Office. It's not in my ministry, but we have already made the request. It is under consideration.
But you will use your good officers.
Of course.
With all the
we have already
ministries
requested for it.
concerned.
Yes.
Of course. I thought that was it. Yeah.
Very important question, Madam Speaker. My question is, I listened well to the Honourable Minister. If those firefighters who are on the Mauritian establishment, they applied at the Rodrigues Assembly level and they are recruited there, can your ministry see to it that if they get the job there, they carry their years of service with them? Is that possible? You see what I'm saying? So those firefighters who are here, they have 10 years of service. If they applied at the regional assembly level and they are recruited there, is it possible for them not to lose their years of service in Mauritius?
Is that a problem, Minister?
No, because I just told
Do you know the reply?
No. No, I know the reply. Because there is no such legal impediment on this, actually. No such legal impediment.
You mean that if they go to Rodrigues, they carry on their years of service? That's what he's asking.
No.
Okay,
we can look to it.
What I suggest is that once you've heard this, you take time and then you will tell us.
Okay.
This is important. Thank you very much, everybody. I raise the sitting for 1.5 hours.